Hey everybody, this is James Wallace with Transit. We're here in Raleigh, North Carolina, taking a brief respite from our On the Move tour before we head right back up to Providence, Rhode Island to keep moving along. We wanted to bring you the second installment of our video vocal percussion series, Rhythm in Motion. Now before we start doing any sounds today, I'm going to go ahead and address a couple of the questions we got from last week's video. One of the first questions we got came from David, and David asked, how do I come up with fills and patterns? And to address this question, the basic answer is most of what I've done before is either something I've practiced several times before for a certain song, or sometimes, depending on the feel of a song, a kind of organic, natural fill just kind of comes to me while I'm doing it. But one of the key things to keep in mind about fills is that as you perform songs more and more and more, you hopefully can hone and refine the fills that you do and eventually do the exact same fills in the exact same spots every single time so that you basically perfect those fills and perfect those fills for the song that you're doing. So that's the first question about fills. We also got a question from Sarah about female vocal percussionists. Sarah asks, as a female trying to learn more about this, I'm wondering, are there tricks or more specific sounds for us ladies to give us more low end? Well, Sarah, I wanted to mention to you that for the letter D sound kick drum that we spoke about last time, funny enough, from my experience with vocal percussion, when you're doing the letter D kick drum, the and kind of vocalizing that low note under it, the lowest note you have, whatever that may be, will actually serve the function you need to give you the low end. You know, for a male, obviously, it's usually a bit lower. For a female, it's not quite as low, but in my experience, again, the ear hearing that low frequency out of the individual, whether it's male or female, actually gives you the low end that you normally need. All right, so with those questions done, let's go ahead and move on to some of our sounds this week. And this week we're going to focus on hi-hat sounds. And there's a lot of different variations you can do on hi-hat sounds, but we're going to go over just some of the basic sounds you can do. And I'm also going to give you guys just a couple very, very easy patterns you can work on to kind of build up some of your hi-hat repertoire. So I think all of us have heard or seen at some point a very, very basic hi-hat sound, which is basically just the letter T sound, like this. Now, the letter T sound being the hi-hat, actually, in my opinion, makes the basic hi-hat sound one of the easiest sounds to produce in vocal percussion. Again, it's just a very basic letter T sound like this. So if you want to work on that, you can do some very basic patterns using the letter T sound to get some consistency and to work on your rhythm and your timing for the hi-hat sounds. So if you want to do a very simple pattern to work on the hi-hat, you could do something like this. You can see I'm really just doing a very, very simple, basic T sound throughout that entire thing. All right, so let's move on to a second way that I think is a good way to learn about the hi-hat sound. And that's similar to the T sound, but it's really a slight variation in that you're making a bit of a TH sound. Kind of like at the beginning of the word the, obviously without the end vocalization, and you're cutting it really short when you do it. So it sounds a little bit like this. Now again, some people may not be able to hear a big distinction between just the basic letter T and the shortened TH. But there is a distinction, and especially when you get onto a microphone with vocal percussion, those distinctions can become more stark and can really add some color to your vocal percussion techniques. So again, the TH is a very, very short kind of TH motion with your mouth, as if you were saying the word the very beginning of the word the, but very short, very crisp. And as with the letter T sound, the basic letter T sound, we can do a very simple pattern to work on our use of the TH sound for the hi-hat. So something like this. All right, so we've covered the letter T sound basic hi-hat. We've covered a basic TH sound hi-hat. The one other thing I wanted to cover today is a slightly open hi-hat sound. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with a hi-hat is two cymbals that are connected on a stand, and they have a pedal at the bottom of the stand. And when the pedals close down with the foot, the two cymbals close together, and they make that kind of tight T sound. But if the pedals let up at the bottom of the stand, the cymbals are a bit open, and they make a more open sound, something like this. Now, that open sound is what I wanted to look at now, and it's really the basic way to think about it is a TS sound, kind of a breathy TS sound like this. Now you can hear this sound is longer than the basic T or the basic TH sound, but it's not really extended like you would get with a cymbal crash. So again, you want to get a little bit extra air coming out, and you want to have the sound a little bit more extended than the T or the TH, but you don't want to have it too long because you still want to produce what we consider a normal hi-hat sound. So again, it would be something like this. Now, just like the T and the TH sounds, we can do some very, very basic patterns to kind of work on our ability to make the TS sound and to hone it just a little bit. So you could do something like this. All right, so those again are the basic hi-hat sounds we were going to cover today. We have the letter T, basic closed hi-hat sound. We have a shortened TH, basic hi-hat sound. And we have a slightly open kind of TS hi-hat sound. So you guys work on that for this week. We'll come back at you again next week with some more sounds, and we'll keep building and we'll keep working. And in some of our later videos, we'll put some of this stuff together to make some more complex patterns and some more complex rhythms. So again, this is James Wallace with Transit with our Rhythm and Motion video series, and we'll be back at you next week with another one.